Hello, everybody, or rather for today, Giagwitch, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. That's right. I know Gaelic. That's my secret the whole time. I am Ryan Knightsey, the host of the show, the voice of the tasteless, and within me, as always, is the man, the myth, the legend, Scotty Edwards. Scotty, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Been very busy with nothing wrestling and wise this week because, it's considering how exciting like AEW is and it's WrestleMania season. Wrestling is kind of quiet a little bit, a little bit quiet. Obviously, the New Japan Cup's going on, Cinderella tournament's going on, but
even then, there's some quietness.
it's
Maybe not quietness,
quiet.
but
It's pretty quiet. And I've kept myself busy doing other things instead, which hasn't been bad. It's nice to do other things for once, But here we are, and I'm happy to be here. So let's have ourselves a show, shall we?
Yeah, we have quite the show in front of us today. And when I say quite the show, it's a little bit of a down week, but doesn't mean the show is going to be bad because we're going to be talking about the WWE corporate officers being revealed in the WWE Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis, Janelle Grant lawsuit, and what that potentially means for said lawsuit. Mercedes Mone, like you said, debuting in AEW. So we're going to talk about how that went. And sort of the fallout of said debut, with the ratings and whatnot. New Japan Cup update, Stardom Cinderella update. So we got some stuff to talk about, but yeah, it's St. Patrick's Day as well. I was thinking right before when I woke up this morning that maybe I changed the colors to green, but I don't know how to do that quickly. I'm not a genius. Do you have any? You're obviously a Bostonian. What do you guys do? Anything fun on St. Patrick's Day?
Not Irish. No,
you're not Irish. Even in Boston, the land of the Irish, basically.
No, thankfully, no. No.
Whoa, Scotty, do you have disdain towards Ireland? Is that what that's? What
no. Well, I do not. Yes, am I a fan of like the Boston Celtics? Yes. That's about all I got. That's my Irishness. I like Becky Lynch. She's pretty cool. Cillian Murphy, he's pretty cool.
Big Damo, or no. What am I thinking?
Yeah, you're right. Big Damo, Sheamus. How many Irish wrestlers can I name? Finn Balor.
Yes.
I don't like JD McDonough.
I'm gonna look up Irish wrestlers. Here we go.
All right. I'm between a rock and a hard place here. I think I've run out.
The Rock is not Irish, to my knowledge. What about the Finleys? The famous family of the Finleys.
Oh, we'll talk about the Finleys, buddy.
Do you love Fit? Do you love David? Do you love Brogan?
When the one thing about the Finleys is that they do love to fight. That's about all I remember about the Finleys, besides obviously David. I'm not doing this bit anymore. We've gone too far. Happy St. Patrick's Day to anyone that celebrates. I hope you enjoy the day. I hope you I don't know, get drunk or something. Is that what people do?
That's pretty much St. Patrick's Day. Is you wake up, crack open a Guinness, chug it super quick, and then you just drink for the rest of the day, as far as I can tell. I accidentally celebrated St. Patrick's Day last night. My cousin was in town for a music teacher conference, which sounds like the most exciting thing in the world. And he was in town and he was like, "Hey, let's meet up." So we went out to a local, basically like a food hall, and I got kind of drunk, admittedly. And I realized I didn't realize I was like, "Oh, I forgot tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. Well, I guess I'll drink." So I did, and I'm woken up little fine, a little dehydrated maybe, but we'll get through the show nonetheless.
Yep.
Well, feeling light, feeling loose. I'm feeling loose, Scotty. As we get into today's show, um, let's talk about the WWE. Let's start off with that. It's not the best transition into this news, obviously, but I think it's obviously the most important news that came out of this week of everything, and that is the WWE corporate officers, a part of the Janelle Grant lawsuit, being revealed. This was a article written. What was the publication? It's one of the new thing that
Front Office Sports.
Front Office Sports. Thank you. Tim Archman. I believe he was on Vice, and now he's on Front Office Sports, basically, along with Brandon Thurston and John Pollock of Post Wrestling and WrestleNomics. Put together an article that confirmed the identities of the 4 unnamed corporate officers in the Janelle Grant versus World Wrestling Entertainment, Vincent K. McMahon, and John Laurinaitis lawsuit. These names, they went through some documents, some resumes, LinkedIn pages, a bunch of different things, came up with 4 names, talked to Janelle Grant's lawyer, Callis, Ann Callis, I believe her name is. And Ann Callis, the lawyer of Janelle Grant, confirmed that all 4 of these names are correct. So now we know that all 4 corporate officers are officially as follows. Corporate officer number 1 is Nick Khan, the current president of WWE. Corporate officer number 2 is Brad Blum, the WWE's chief operating officer. Corporate officer number 3 is Stephanie McMahon, obviously former vice president of talent and creative writing for WWE and former WWE CEO. Corporate officer number 4 is Brian Nurse, former head of WWE legal department. There are a lot of different parts of their lawsuit, the different moments of them in the lawsuit. I think the highlights are corporate officer number 1, Nick Khan, is the one that was on the 4th floor of the WWE headquarters. He's the one that everyone was thinking was like Triple H. Turns out it's not. It was Nick Khan. He's the one that has the line of like, "Oh, I know exactly who you are," when introducing himself to Janelle Grant. Brad Blum is the guy that basically was doing the interviewing and hiring and moving around of Janelle Grant on behalf of Vince McMahon, according to the lawsuit, allegedly. Stephanie McMahon is a corporate officer that wanted to sit next to Janelle Grant at one point, and was basically saying that Stephanie McMahon knows a lot about Vince McMahon's past sexual allegations and sexual assault history and all that stuff, allegedly. Brian Nurse, former head of WWE legal department, he's the corporate officer that would be sort of not aggressive per se in the hallways, but he's the corporate officer that would see them in the hallway, turn around. If they were in a room laughing with everybody and Janelle Grant came in, they would immediately shut up and be, basically not want to associate with them. Brian Nurse also, like I said, no longer works for the company. Former head of the WWE legal department, was let go in November of 2023. So those are all the key, I guess, moments of the lawsuit with these 4 corporate officers. What was your reaction, Scotty, to this revealing of these 4 individuals? And what do you think? What do you think this means for WWE in their part of the lawsuit?
My reaction was, I think no name should surprise. Even me and you had the discussion, not thinking Nick Khan was one of them, just because we were trying to figure out the timelines. But the idea of him knowing and all these people knowing isn't at all shocking. We've reached the point, I think, in all this as time has gone on, that most people that had any connection to Vince in that company likely knew, right? And it's nice to be able to put faces to these positions now. If that's the best way to look at it, is that there's not as much mystery with the 3 or 4 names that were named. But ultimately, I think I've reached a point with all this where I don't think much else is going to happen in terms of people leaving this company. I just think that's the reality that we've reached with all of this, which is very unfortunate, obviously, because there's a lot of rotten, the big rotten core in this company through all these people that knew and didn't help, and the list goes on and on, just kind of let things like this happen. But that's ultimately, I think, where we've reached. Unless something like dramatically happens with the case, I think Vince being fired is for TKO gonna be enough at this stage of the game. Like I don't see them getting rid of Nick Khan. There's no way, So it's another one of those parts of this since the beginning where you're just like, well, it's good to know the information, but what is actually going to happen with that? Mm, you know,
Yeah,
that's the business world.
we accidentally stumbled across the rant last week when I set up the whole idea of like, the lawsuit's going on and yet WWE is making the most amount of money ever. I said literally last week that Nick Khan is probably someone, jokingly said this, right? That Nick Khan has probably made the most amount of money for WWE since like as a single individual than like Hogan or something. I said that literally last week, and then the next day this news is revealed, right? I still think that statement is true, and I think if you're on the board you also think that's probably true. And what is this, how does this affect Nick Khan's role in WWE? I don't think it affects anything. I mean,
No.
maybe you can maybe make an argument that it could affect Nick Khan and Brad Blum. Brad Blum maybe more because he's probably less crucial to the operation than a Nick Khan, admittedly. But Nick Khan being someone that's maybe you can argue is no longer needed because all the TV deals are now figured out. But he's the guy that has gotten them the TV deals for the past 5 years, really.
Yeah.
So he's not the person to get rid of. He is the person that WWE needs and is the reason WWE is in the financial powerhouse that it is. The reason that WWE was sold to UFC, TKO, Endeavor to make a butt ton of money and to make Vince McMahon a butt ton of money.
Mhm.
It's one of those things. It should be said, obviously, with all these corporate officers, none of them, according to the lawsuit, should be clear, none of them engage in any sexual activity with Janelle Grant. That is part of the not stated anywhere in the lawsuit. When we went through this timeline, we went through a couple months ago or whatever at this point, talking about who involved, whose interactions with Janelle Grant, who's had contact with Janelle Grant, all these sort of things. None of the corporate officers popped up
Right.
in any of these things. That being said, you also brought up a great point, Scotty, which is what is the reality of how much these people knew about the relationship? Obviously, Nick Khan explicitly says, allegedly, in the article, I know exactly who you are.
Yeah.
Does that exactly know who you are extend to the sexual assault allegations? Or does it extend to Vince McMahon showing, which I went over last time,
Yeah.
documents of picture after video after picture after video of Janelle Grant to various people? It wouldn't shock me at all for him to have shown it to Nick Khan, Brad Blum, any of these
Right.
people. So the question is, and that's part of the trial, and that's part of the lawsuit, if assuming it goes to trial, is how much, to what extent, do they know that this is a relationship between these two people, which should be stated is also bad, that a boss and a underling is having a sexual relationship of any kind. That is obviously also a massive HR, PR, not power dynamic issue that is also bad. But if he has the knowledge, Nick Khan, all these other people have the knowledge of And that's obviously the lawsuit, what it's trying to prove. If they have the knowledge that of sexual assault allegations, all this stuff, then cover up is at play. And that's what that's what this lawsuit is trying to figure out. So yeah, and also it's like we stated, like at the top also, it's, whether or not like, oh, Triple H is not a corporate officer, number one, surely he still knew stuff. Nick Khan, Brad Blum, Triple H, Stephanie, all these people were on the board when Vince McMahon was let go the first time, when the NDA, when they found out a bunch of NDAs were paid through WWE money, when they got the email from basically Janelle Grant, unconfirmed, but I'm pretty much believe that emails from Janelle Grant, all the evidence suggests as such, stating that, hey, these are sexual assault allegations to Vince McMahon and I need all this money, or at least an email, but I guess we don't know the content per se. And then on the board that votes Vince McMahon out, that does an investigation, that votes him back in, all these people were on the board. So they obviously knew stuff later. Do they knew stuff beforehand? I guess that's the question.
Yeah. Which
I don't know. That's the trial. That's the part of the trial that they have to prove is right. Does the WB, do these WB corporate officers know explicitly what was happening between Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis and Janelle Grant?
Yeah. And I think on, like we're in a point with this where they're going to look at it as, okay, enough time has passed. We don't have to do anything. And that's WWE, obviously.
Yeah.
Their core fans have moved on. If they even like came close to not moving. Like I don't think WWE's core fans even like sat there and thought all too much about it. I think they moved on before, like way too quickly to begin with. But
I'm glad you brought that up, because part of what I want to talk about is just like this information gets revealed and it feels like it has no traction whatsoever in the WWE fan base.
Right.
It doesn't feel like anyone online really is talking about it to the extent that we were talking about when the lawsuit first dropped. How do you feel about that? I hate it.
Well, obviously it's awful, but if this, I hate having to say things like this, but this is how this company works. If this had happened any other time than WrestleMania season, I would like to think it would be different. I really because obviously it's not different now. It's bad. It's so frustrating that it can be moved on from. And I know people that, can't watch WWE right now because of this, but it's as we see the ratings, as we see the ticket sales, as we see, the money being made, it's way more people that, aren't. And I guess the way you also have to look at it is like there's some people that are able to separate the the show from the business, right? Like they just watch the show and things like that. But yeah, it's just,
which I get.
Frustrating.
We talked about this a little bit last week of like the classic idea of separating the art from the artist. Which
this is just they did it so fast.
Yeah, it is. And I get it. I mean, we talked about this last week, that like the idea of being a wrestling fan is, to a certain extent, especially, well, I would love to think not as much nowadays, but obviously with this lawsuit, it's still very much apparent. But like the history of wrestling is so much, you have to turn the other way sometimes. But I also think that you don't want to turn the other way, because this stuff is also part of the history of wrestling. We kind of talked about it, I think, when the lawsuit was happening, is, there's this idea, or I don't even know if I remember talking about it when the lawsuit was happening, but I remember I discussed this with Suit Williams on Count on Patreon on the ballot episode. We were talking, there was an episode we were talking about the Usos being on the Observer Hall of Fame ballot, but I also asked him about Vince McMahon because Dave Meltzer's considering doing a recall vote, like a similar recall vote he did with Chris Benoit, but a recall vote for Vince McMahon, who's obviously in the Hall of Fame and was a day one, automatic inductee from Dave back in '96.
Sure.
And so he's doing a recall vote probably for Vince McMahon. And it brings up a lot of discussion of this idea of like, he has a lot of positives. He expanded his company to where it is today and all this sort of stuff. But there's so many negatives associated with him, and there's so many careers, as we saw with Ashley Massaro, or the discussions from Paul Roma recently as well. So many careers that were altered because of this sort of sexual impropriety, for lack of a better word. All these sort of things that so that includes that all of this stuff is part of the history of wrestling and is just as important to wrestling in a sad way as the matches and moments itself. We can't turn a blind eye to these things because they shaped what wrestling became. They shaped what wrestling was, and they shaped the careers of wrestlers.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm with you. No, yeah, you said it very well. There should be a revote, or however you want to describe
Recall, yeah.
Recall. Vince has got to be like, Vince is the most brutal conversation in wrestling now.
Yeah.
Because this is a guy that has shaped pro wrestling in the US for 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of the most despicable human beings ever.
Yeah. Which is also part of like why it's part of the history, is that the ultimate figure, the ultimate mover and shaker in wrestling, Vince McMahon, has this whole other side of him.
Who would you call the most famous people from wrestling? Vince, Hulk Hogan,
John Cena, The Rock, Stone Cold.
Well,
and in not all of these people are bad, to my knowledge. Hulk Hogan has his racist issues. John Cena, to my knowledge, doesn't have any issues, but he certainly wants to defend Vince and tell him that he still loves him.
Yeah.
And then you got like guys like Jim Ross come out here being like, he still made a lot of money for the boys. And it's like, yeah, that's true. Same thing like Nick Khan, right? Going back to Nick Khan, the corporate officers made a lot of money for the boys,
Sure. But he definitely did.
Yeah. But I guess, to be fair, I guess the question is, did Nick Khan make a lot of money for the boys, or did like the competition of AEW and moving up the contracts and all that stuff? Like, I don't know how much
I'm assuming his point is he made a lot of money just by like growing WWE. It's not necessarily with AEW.
Yeah.
Like just overall in history.
To my knowledge, he made the company a lot of money. I am not completely clear if he made the wrestlers a lot of money, because I believe compared to how much WWE makes, I don't think the wrestlers are paid quite.
They make a lot of money, but not.
Yeah, you hear the reports of like Okada and Mone and Ospreay, and all the reasons they didn't go to WWE and didn't sign with WWE is because they weren't offered as much money as AEW. So that's an interesting part of it all.
Well, I mean, Triple H wanting to lowball people has nothing to do with Vince McMahon.
Good point.
I mean, maybe it does, but
he was certainly taught this.
It certainly does, but like, no, never mind.
There's also what's also great about the corporate officer stuff, real quickly, is that you can now go back and like pull quotes from specific people, like Nick Khan specifically, and all of his PR appointments on Bill Simmons and Stephen A. Smith or whoever else he's talked to, and you just look at poll quotes. It was always my point of this is him on the Bill Simmons podcast. It was always my point of view, always Stephanie's point of view. At some point, Vince would come back. I think the way he played it was smart. He went away for 5-6 months, which people, maybe the audience, seem to like when somebody does that. Okay, well, I guess maybe Nick Khan will go away for 5-6 months and then come back.
Ain't going anywhere.
Sometimes I think it's just a 3-mile radius of LA thing. You have to be sort of punished for it.
Well, they do that with everyone. Like the go away and then all right, like test the waters. Can we bring him back yet?
It's
that
kind
is something.
There are kind of stuff in the water that's happening with Brock right now.
Yeah, he's back on the roster page. Like it's gonna happen. It's like it's unfortunate, but like if you go onto the free agents, he's right there with Jade Cargill and Logan Paul.
Yeah,
like Jade Cargill. That's crazy. It's just I've reached the point with all this.
Hold on, real quickly. I'm seeing more poll quotes from this real quickly.
Okay.
Nick Khan of Stephanie's departure after Vince's return. Still in the Bill Simmons thing. This is from January of 2023. I don't get involved in the family business. That is rule number 1. I don't get involved in the family side of the family business. I like to consider myself someone who, instead of a pot stirrer, simmers the pot. Well, how much simmering of the lawsuit pot did you do, Nick Khan? That's the question. How much simmering of the pot did you do? Oh man. God damn, I can't believe you said that. That's a rough one. That's a real rough one. But yeah, sorry. Continue with what you were saying.
I don't remember what I was saying.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
There's also like one that I recall. I know like VOW was talking about a lot. Modern day rules should apply to modern day. I don't think it should apply to the past. Is another poll quote from Nick Khan.
Oof.
Yeah, that's real bad. That's a real bad quote. I always try to look at these things from that certain things that were acceptable years ago aren't acceptable now. Modern day rules should apply to modern day. It's like, what is the modern day rules here? A boss having a relationship with a coworker, not even a coworker, an underling coworker, that at minimum was a sexual relationship that was inappropriate for the workplace. At maximum was allegedly rape. Like what do you want? What do you want to do here? Brad Blum being forced to move this person around to try to keep things under wraps. Stephanie McMahon surely, knew about other things, married to Triple H. Whether or not Triple H is named in the lawsuit, probably knew stuff. I mean, his wife is named in the lawsuit practically.
Yeah.
So you have to think Triple H knew things.
Ultimately, like, as we've talked about, it feels like countless times now, there's so many people that do know, and you just have to assume that most people know than don't. And I think that's like the safest way to move forward if you're following this, because as we learn, Nick Khan was like one guy we thought, oh, well, timing wise, he may not have been around, and he's number 1. It's like, all right, everyone knew, just like if you treat it that way, then I don't think it's an unfair way to move forward with all this at all.
Yeah.
If you just, it's a rotten to the core company, plain and simple. And that rot that knew about this isn't yes, Vince is gone. Great. He should be gone. He should be in prison. But there's still going to be a lot of people that aren't gone, that, were learned under him and were, his first person to call in any scenario, and are friends with him ultimately. That's just the way. And I've run out of things to say about this, because it's just like nothing's changing. and that is the unfortunate reality that I've had to come to accept. And it's all the more shocking because we have had a conversation like this for the past year or two or whatever. I don't even remember when Vince first left office. Was that 2022?
Say it again. 2022.
When Vince first got kind of kicked out of WWE, was that back in 2022?
Yeah, I want to say that was July of 2022. Yes, July
Yeah.
of 2022.
So that's my point. We've been having conversations like this, and ultimately, it's
Oh,
always
yeah.
just gonna be like this is the difference here this time compared to then is that he doesn't have power to get back in anymore. And that's ultimately like the way I look at it. Because you know what? The sad fact is if he did, he would be. Because that's how
Mhm.
this guy works.
Yeah. I'm looking back at my timeline that I wrote up last time we talked about this. Um, November 2022. No, sorry, I'm confusing that because November 2023 is when Brian Nurse, I believe, got fired. Um, last thing I want to say about this is the WWE spokesperson said in a statement, according to Front Office Sports, WWE takes Mr. Grant's allegations very seriously, has no tolerance for any physical abuse or unwanted physical contact. Neither Nick Khan nor Brad Bloom, prior to the lawsuit being filed on July 25th, 2024, were aware of any allegation by Miss Grant that she was the victim of abuse or unwanted physical contact, nor does the complaint allege that either had knowledge of such. Obviously, there's the initial statement there that I disagree with of prior to the lawsuit being filed on January 25th, 2024, they were on the board. They investigated Vince McMahon. They obviously knew about these things. They would have if they never knew about these things, then the investigation was a complete sham and was completely pointless and useless and was not anything, right? The other thing is that while it says that they did not know any knowledge of abuse or physical contact, it doesn't state that they didn't have any knowledge of a relationship between Vince McMahon and Janelle Grant. Also, because obviously it only talks about Nick Khan or Brad Bloom are the only people that still work for WWE. We don't have any statements from Brian Nurse or Stephanie McMahon. So obviously, people in WWE can agree that a relationship existed. They just disagree, apparently, on the nature of the relationship, which is what the trial presumably will be about. I think there's a good statement from Twain Mack here. One of the few times where you cut off the head of the snake and the problems still remain. It's a Hydra situation over here, baby. It's not good. Not good, not good, not good. But who knows what's going to happen, folks? Strap in for the rest of the year for whatever happens with this lawsuit. I don't expect it to get better unless the trial comes about. I think it's only going to get worse and more sad.
The trial is like, if there is one,
Mhm.
is the only. It feels like the only hope of any more people having repercussions in all this, and tough to say right now.
Yeah. And obviously, there's no trial stated. I don't even know exactly where in the process of this lawsuit that they're at. But
I don't know.
we're still months away from any sort of thing happening. Even months away from any sort of thing happening in terms of like a settlement, even if they don't go to trial. So
Yep.
we'll see what happens there. How do I do a rough transition out of this topic? A
Talk
real
about wrestling.
Let's talk about wrestling now. AEW. They had the big business show this past Wednesday,
Big
which
I
has
say we just I just say because of how this show's gonna go, we just review the whole show at this point.
it might be probable.
It was a big
But
feud thingy, kind of.
AEW's big time show, big business, their big television show happened this past Wednesday. And as we all expected, is the debut of Mercedes Moné, officially debuting in All Elite Wrestling. They did the whole they basically did like the whole kind of like CM Punk intro bit where like they open the show, just show a bunch of the crowd being excited, and
Just
then
pour one out.
Mone.
yes, then we didn't hear that music, and the crowd was both excited but also kind of confused. And then ultimately we got debut of Mercedes Moné, cut a promo at the top. Before we talk about all the fallout, what are your thoughts on how do you think she did during the show and the promo and all that stuff? And how do you think she's going to do in AEW moving forward? What do you think this means for the AEW roster?
Oh man, she's a superstar. Absolute bona fide superstar. She is now the biggest star in the company. I firmly believe that would be the case when she walked in the door. No one carries themselves like she does. I'd argue really most companies in wrestling, anyone in wrestling, like she has a belief in herself, she has a confidence in herself. She looks like a star. She feels like a star. She went out there. She cut this, the great type of mission statement promo thing that you want from someone this big, right? This is why I'm here. This is why I'm a wrestler, essentially. Like, just reinvigorate all that stuff that we've heard through the years. And then kind of, turn it to, and this is why I'm in AEW, which is very important because listen, essentially everyone knows by now, every rumor possible that there was a time that she may have went back to WWE. She's done the New Japan stuff, and ultimately she has landed here. I thought she did a great job, and then I thought her coming out at the end was a great bonus, a bonus that no one expected, clearly, based off of certain ratings. I don't think anyone saw Mercedes. We'll have that discussion in a second. We'll have the discussion of how you handle these things, moving forward. But in terms of her overall delivery and the CEO coming to AEW, it's only going to make the company better, in my opinion. I don't see her hurting them like the last time they had one of these, debutees. And it's very different. I don't like comparing the Punk and Mercedes stuff beyond the way it was handled.
The presentation.
Because like Punk was coming back after a decade away from wrestling.
Yeah.
Right? Like he became like a mythical kind of being in that time.
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes wrestled 9 months ago in New Japan Pro Wrestling, right? And has been around, past decade, essentially. Like, it's very different. But ultimately, it's a superstar who's now your biggest star walking into the company. And with Mercedes joining, and we'll get to this after, but I'm under the belief that AEW with Okada, Ospreay, and Mone has added their new face of their women's side of things, their new top baby face, and their new top heel. That is ultimately how I feel about all three of them moving forward. And that is like unbelievably gigantic. That is very different. You and me have talked about this in the past, where when wrestlers often come into this company, the bigger ones are presented at a high point, but they're not pushed into big title matches or big matches immediately. Okada's got an AEW Continental title match on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. I think he's undoubtedly winning that match, by the way.
Oh yeah. Unless there's like interference or something, but I don't know why you would have him lose. Ospreay, walked in, had that match with Takeshita, and is now in a story with story with Bryan Danielson to see who the best wrestler in the world is. And Mercedes Moné is the face of like everything. Like it just like she's on everything.
To your point real quickly, on the pathway of a TBS title.
Title, Willow, like they set up a few things, right? Instantly with all three of them. And there's a reason for that because they're all different level of free agent than pretty much anyone since Punk. Well, Danielson, but I forgot I always forget Danielson came after for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe because Danielson's been around a lot more, despite.
But it wasn't much after. It was like a month.
Yeah, same time.
Yeah,
Okay, easier way to do it. We could compare Punk, Cole, Danielson to these three, which is Osprey, Okada, Mone. Obviously, those three at that time had probably like a more star because Danielson, Punk, and they're just widely known for their WWE time, and Adam Cole for his NXT time. But I find this three just as exciting and more important for their future. That was more immediate. This feels now and moving forward, if that makes sense.
yeah. There's longevity in a guy with Will Ospreay. There is less longevity, but I think like Okada is somebody that may be like on the Danielson thing, where it's like he's going to be in this company for a couple of years. I don't think he's like retiring out of this, but he's not. I don't necessarily think Okada will
They're
be
gonna get like a
pushed as the
good
world champion.
5 years from him.
Yeah, I don't necessarily. I would put the world title on him. I don't necessarily think he might win the world title. You never know, but it's Okada.
I
But
think it would be silly not to ever give Okada that world title.
I agree. I agree. I'm just
That's his
it's
thing.
one of those things. It's one of
That's
those
literally
things.
his thing is winning world titles.
He's 36, so he's still got plenty of career left. And Monet is somebody that obviously, as far as she will stay in this company, will be pushed heavily.
Yeah.
She will undoubtedly win women's titles in this company in her contract length.
I think the unique thing about Monet is they've never had a signing like her.
What do you mean, like in terms of the women's division?
Well, yeah, she is the biggest star in that division by a lot.
Miles.
Like a lot. And that's not a shot at anyone in the division. It's more of a respect to who she has become. And it has the makings. There's so much that needs to go into this to make it happen, but it has the makings to be one of the most important and most damn it, the word has escaped me, but it has the makings to be the biggest and most important signing they've ever made, depending what she's able to accomplish and what that division is able to accomplish. Because we have the Ospreys and Okadas coming in. Listen, the men's side of things is what it is, right? Like, Danielson, Moxley, Omega, Hangman, all these guys have had that held down. Like, it's not like it's not a news shattering thing that AEW delivers great wrestling, and those two are just going to add to that. But Mercedes just brings something else to the table, and I don't think it's just for the women's division. At the end of the day, I think it will be for AEW because, as I said, she is their most notable star.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, eat your heart out, Chris Jericho.
There's an element of Mercedes Moné that Ospreay and Okada have, that Ospreay and Okada don't have, and that is a U.S. television star.
If you said money, I would have lost my mind. I'm gonna say they all have money, but yes, you're right.
They Ospreay obviously is maybe the closest, but even then, it's like a year or two of being in AEW, rarely. Monet obviously has years of being on U.S. television, so where she may lack in other aspects, let's say she gains in U.S. television, American television stardom. And also, obviously, I think it's fair to say that she's talked part of her, conversation, her promo, her mission statement is going on an international plane. We also saw Stardom involvement from a Ring of Honor taping, and obviously, there's a connection there. I wouldn't be shocked if this
Okada was there in person.
Exactly right. I wouldn't be shocked at all if this forges a more formal, and you can already see it already starting, formal relationship between Stardom and AEW.
I I can't believe like how many people just didn't think to themselves when that happened was like, wow, Mercedes Moné just has so much power already. Like that was the first thing I thought. I was like, this is happening the day of.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's not a
Yes.
coincidence. It's just not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, man, she has more power than we're ready for. Tony's got to fully care now about the women's side of things. I had to get the joke in. I've watched this division get better and better through the past couple months. We've talked about that on the show. Even if I have complaints about champions and whatnot, there is a lot of excitement still and a lot of talent in this division that still feels kind of untapped.
Mm-hmm.
And if you add in a Mercedes Moné aspect, if you add in maybe a little CMLL aspect, we've heard Vercare's name come up, obviously, and now you add a Stardom aspect, things could get very exciting.
Yes.
Obviously, the CMLL and Stardom aspect aren't going to be involved all the time. It's going to be pretty rare, but it's going to be enough that it makes a difference. And I think that's what's so exciting again about Mercedes. That's why I think it's going to be such a big signing. Is like this is happening. Like the Stardom thing happened.
Yeah.
The moment she walked in the door.
Yes.
It's like it's exciting. It's just exciting. And Forbidden Door might have some life to it this year.
Yeah, we're already getting those rumors of Stardom and CMLL having official involvement in Forbidden Door this year.
Well, they need to, Ryan, because I don't know about you, but AEW versus New Japan does not have me jumping for joy these days.
Especially after taking on the big stars from New Japan, it's like, oh, who can we wrestle?
They essentially took so thinking in my head, there's probably 4 people, at the start of the year who are in New Japan that you want to see in big matches at Forbidden Door from the New Japan side. Right? And then like there's a few that are like, sure, maybe.
Yeah.
They signed the top 2. Right? And Naito doesn't love the whole America thing, obviously, but he's coming over to do the John Moxley match, so I'm sure that probably can break into something.
Plus, he did Forbidden Door last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, big time effort. He wore a t-shirt. But yeah, he did do it. You are not wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna guess the Moxley thing does turn into a match at Forbidden Door in some way, shape, or form. Okay, that's 3, and then you have Shingo, who's literally never done anything on any of the Forbidden Door shows of importance besides the Bad Dudes with Attitudes match, which is great. Which was great. Don't get me wrong, it was great, but that's it.
Yeah. Plus, you have Zack Sabre Jr., Jeff Bugan.
Well, that too, but yeah, him too. But I should have said 5. I meant him too, but he's a good one.
Yeah,
but still, that's 3 people. Yeah. That's 3 people throughout an entire show.
My current guesstimate of what Forbidden Door will be is like BCC, Moxley, Claudio, and Naito and Shingo all team up to take on House of Torture. That is my current belief.
Oh my god!
But no, sorry, we'll make it a 5-on-5. We'll add Shota Umino in there as well to sort of be like the connection here, so that they face Evil, Ren Narita, Jack Perry, Kanemaru, and
Big Juice.
Big Huge. You gotta get Big Huge in that match, baby.
I am widely interested in a House of Torture USA match.
Oh, me too. I am very intrigued of what
I know people are probably listening to this and like, why are you putting this in your list? I don't know, because they would be the biggest heels in the building.
They will get booed. I'm fascinated.
That's the point.
I know. I'm fascinated.
No, I'm not saying that's you. I'm like, that's the point. That it's
untested. It's untested, by the way. Who knows what the reaction will be? Everyone online,
Evil's never come here.
Yeah, everyone online hates House of Torture. But what would the arena look like for House of Torture? That's what I want to know. I'm so excited.
It has a chance to work very well. That's the
I
thing.
agree. I agree. I think it could work very well. Oh, with the right crowd, Forbidden Door crowd especially, I think it could
Yeah.
really work. And that's a House of Torture influence. Um, Now I will say the one downside of this big business show obviously is the rating that came out. A little bit of
Boom,
discussion
boom.
here. The rating was 801,000 viewers, 0.27 in the demo. I believe it actually went down in total. I don't know if it went down in key demo because there was the overrun not calculated at 801,000, but I believe once it did get calculated, I think it went down a little bit to like 790 something.
That
I'm
damn
not sure.
overrun.
Yeah, I'm unsure about the key demo, but the big thing. So obviously, that's a big disappointment in terms of a rating. Obviously, when you have a built-up show, not only do you have a show of Mercedes Moné debuting, you also have a world title match, and you have Jay White versus Darby Allin. You have all these big-time matches. A loaded-up show. You expect a bigger number, and it didn't quite get there. Obviously, it was a little bit of a disappointment. Obviously, the one good thing is, great start like any Dynamite typically has with 1 million viewers for the Moné debut. But as the show kind of goes on, it doesn't quite recover.
I
So
heard a lot of remote controls pressing the off button the moment she left. They said
that,
Wardlow? Really?
yes, if you go from now, granted, there's always a drop off from
Yeah.
quarter one to quarter two, but yes, what is this? About 100,000 people clicked off apparently from quarter one to quarter two. 1 million to 899,000 people. So that was 100,000 people clicked their remotes off. 423,000 to 383,000 in the key demo. Granted, that quarter two also had an ad break, but that's all another. That's
Not
another.
they're not Wardlow heads. If it
Uh,
helps, guys, I'm not either.
No, seemingly not. Seemingly not. The only other like things that did draw a little bit looks like Jay White versus Darby Allin when I'm looking at the quarters.
Jay
That looked like
White's an interesting case, huh?
yeah.
We
That's the
we
only one
had
that
this we had
look.
this
That's the only one
conversation.
that's the only. Sorry, real quickly. That's the only one to finish my thought. That's the only one that's raised in the
Oh, okay.
quarters, the key demo. Everything else
We
dropped.
we had this discussion back in when he was going for the world title, how like he was a pretty good ratings draw. That Jay White.
Yeah,
Which makes it a little more interesting now that you see that,
yeah. It was
Obviously it's a big
able.
match, but
Yeah, it was able to grow very tiny, like an additional point zero 0.02 in the key demo, another 1,000 people in
it's the
their
fact
second
it
quarter
didn't go
hour
down.
of their match. And
Yeah.
I say it grew in the second quarter of their thing by a very tiny amount in a match that also had an ad break and a picture-in-picture ad break, which is 2 ad breaks. It still was able to grow ever so slightly. Hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Like I said, the conversation is it didn't go down.
No, it didn't go down. It went slightly up, which against the monstrous Mount
Yeah.
Everest of 2 ad breaks.
Yeah,
Um,
let's have this discussion. We don't do the ratings talk much, but listen,
oh,
we're
no.
only an hour in and we're gonna be done in about 5 seconds if if we get through big business that quickly. I think AEW just needs to keep doing what they're doing. I don't think they need to make any dramatic changes. I
Mhm.
don't think because TV's for the most part great right now.
Yeah.
I love what's going on. Do I love Chris Jericho? No.
Sure.
Um,
But I'm okay with Chris Jericho mucking it up in the Hook and a lower
this is
mid Carter
Rampage,
maybe
baby.
realm. He's
Uh
not anywhere in like top
yeah.
people. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He just feels so out of place though.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, like they cut to that thing with him and Hook, like the post mat, like the backstage thing. I'm just watching this. I'm like, who cares, man? Like, he would benefit so much from just taking time away. Because like I'm not gonna sit here and say like Jericho doesn't give them like someone that's known. Obviously, that's why he's there.
Yeah.
But man, just take like the reason you worked for so long, like when you were in WWE towards the end and stuff, is because you took breaks. You don't take breaks anymore. I mean, John Moxley's in the middle of the break right now. Clearly, he's not on TV at all.
That's true.
Oh, we could do bracketology. I just remembered.
Yes, we could. That will take 5 seconds. I'll tell you that much.
Sure will. But yeah, well, they just have to stay with it because in time they're gonna make stars through Ospreay and Okada and Mone. Mone's a star, but they're gonna make stars out of the people that are clearly getting incredible reactions. All three of them were superstars in that building, plus Swerve.
Yeah.
And that's who they're building around. It takes time. You also have to remember that this is during WrestleMania season.
Yes. The constant thing of when number one is hot, number two has a incredibly tough time.
And number one is very hot right now.
Some would say wickedly hot.
They're scorching. It's and I'm not just talking about The Rock with his vests. Handsome fella that man is. See the goose. Yeah. The mana. No, I think they just gotta stay course because listen, we're on track to another fantastic pay-per-view. We're on track to just a great year. Just don't big moves. MJF, stay home.
Yeah, I think
MJF's
just
coming back soon. That he's coming.
I think it's one of those things of it's stay the course, build to dynasty, because I think post WrestleMania going into dynasty will be a very crucial time for AEW.
You gain steam.
Yes, exactly. And I think it's
Viewership-wise.
right now. I think it's setting the table. I don't want to say simmering the pot because it was used in a bad context earlier, but simmer put that pot on simmer. And then as soon as WrestleMania is over, you turn it to a boil.
When The Rock's not on TV every week.
Exactly. and there's already that report that he's not. I believe he goes back to shooting a movie in May. So he's not.
It was a matter of time before this damn guy shot another movie.
I know.
He took a lot of time off for this. I think with AEW, it's still gonna be hard after because like Cody's presumably winning the title and is so unbelievably over that like they're not gonna lose a lot of steam. But
no, I hope not.
There's well, I mean the steam of like WrestleMania season, not really his fault.
Yes.
But enough steam can still do a lot of good for AEW, if that makes sense. And I just want them to stay. Just stay with it. Just keep going. You are the alternative again. Keep going, Please. I'm having so much fun watching these shows. I watched Katsuyori Shibata and Bryan Danielson beat the ever-living hell out of each other on Collision last night. You know how many times I'm going to get to say that if you don't stay the course and instead I get to watch the devil? Yeah. No. We're in a good spot right now. Stay with it.
I messaged you on Slack. I never want nor need MJF in this company again.
I think you messaged me that multiple times, actually. Through the past few weeks.
Yeah. Every time I see AEW nowadays, it's like I just don't want this guy.
MJF's he's such a difficult person to talk about because he's a good wrestler. Right? Like he has good matches and there's times where he's good at the whole character part.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, was last year rough. That it's not. You're not gonna see me. Oh my god. I just realized there is gonna be a time that they're gonna do maybe the worst thing to you because listen, folks. Anytime I know that it's a Ryan-esque angle or wrestler or story, I always give him a fun message. After Ospreay cut that big promo, I was like, "Did you rip your shirt off and run around the building?"
And my response, of course, was, "I ripped off my shirt to reveal full green tracksuit."
So my realization here, just now is there's going to be a time they're doing Ospreay and MJF, and I think you're going to lose your mind.
Oh, I will. I won't like it, or will I? I don't know.
Or will you? That's the thing.
Is it also telling that you and I are probably more excited to see House of Torture on AEW than MJF?
This is a House of Torture podcast.
This is a pro House of Torture podcast, folks.
And click, all the viewers have gone. We lost all viewership for the rest of the time.
Any other thoughts on AEW Big Business? I don't really want to go match by match per se, but
you don't want to go match by se? Well, I won't either. But Okada and the Bucks are great.
Yes, I thought that was a great match.
Fantastic. Wardlow stinks.
I thought Wardlow did a good job I thought he did a better job than the last Samoa Joe Wardlow match, which was not good.
Well, Ryan.
As stated on the show before, not a good match previously.
Poor Darby Allin, obviously breaking his foot and not going on Everest, but I'm happy that, we don't have to sit here and think of, is Darby okay?
Yeah.
As he climbs and, there's more than a 10% chance that he doesn't come back. I don't like that personally.
Can I say something about Darby Allin real quick?
He's very good. Yes. What?
I think he's like weirdly one of the more like underrated workers today.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I was looking at my like match ratings for him over the years, and it's just like, man, this guy is on track to reach my worker Hall of Fame. I think he has to just have one more great year of wrestling, not including this year. Let me see. Where is he?
This year? It's only March.
Yes, I've had 3 back-to-back 2022 to 2024 so far. Great years of Darby Allin wrestling so far. If he has 2 more years, he gets my Worker Hall of Fame. I think he's super underrated and he deserves to be in it. He's really good. He's really good. He's a really good wrestler, folks. That match with Jay White I thought was really good, and obviously broke his foot and was able to continue the entire match. That's insane. That's a worker. That's a worker, baby.
Well, he is an insane human. Let's not just act like he's not a crazy man. And then I thought Willow and Riho was quite good in the main event. I think I just want them to do some Willow. Like, come on. Like, she beat Riho. So I would like to think we're on our way there, but
yeah.
Well,
they're obviously doing something. Going back to the ratings and Mercedes talk, there's obviously a conversation about not a disappointing number in terms of a Mercedes Moné debut. Obviously, they treat it like the CM Punk thing where they try to tease it through various means without outright saying it. And then the same thing throughout the episode itself, tease the idea that she'll show up later in the main event being the women's matches and everything else, that there's this idea of that she will show up. And obviously the ratings don't hold at all. It's basically like halved by time the main event shows up around. Not this, there's no way in saying that like Willow Nightingale and Riho is like a pure caliber main event match for AEW. Women's main events in AEW don't always pull great ratings. I think the only one I can think of is that St. Patrick's Day Slam match from years ago. But
there's not many to pick from, to be fair.
Yeah, there's not many to be picked from, but even then, I think I can only think of one.
It's AEW, like, this isn't just a women's thing, but like their main events do need to be like big caliber stars or it drops off. And that's kind of just the way things go. Right? You'll see that with Raw too.
Yeah, to be fair, Raw does that, SmackDown has it. By the time the main event rolls around, there's less people, less viewers. And that's just how TV works.
You essentially need like next week, you'll have Edge and Christian presumably in the main event.
Yeah.
So that I'm sure that will do well or hang or whatever, but it's tough, especially because Riho and Willow didn't really have a story to it. It's just kind of like, here's a cool match.
There's a continuation of the Riho Chris match from the week prior.
But you watch, was that on AEW or Collision?
That was on.
It was on Dynamite. It was on Dynamite. Yes. But even so, it's just like a competitive thing.
Sure.
Like it's weird. It felt I know why they did it. It was for the Mercedes Mone pop at the end that no one caught on to, but I almost wonder if you had put that after the Mercedes match. I understood what they were going for, but that's to the women's match and then probably just put like the world title in the main event. Maybe that would have been the switch that made sense, but whatever.
But then you lose the idea of, well, I guess you lose the idea of Monet not being on the show for the rest of the show, but it obviously didn't matter. You know what I mean? You look at the ratings, it didn't matter quite that much.
Or you put it in the middle of the show.
Sure.
Even,
9 o'clock hour sort of thing.
Yeah. But this is just me talking about ratings that I actually don't care all that much about.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like I am very much enjoying AEW right now, and they're gonna still get a big TV deal because they're still top 3 in their time slot or whatever. And
I think about that a lot right now, right? Do these ratings right now ultimately matter to the TV deal? I don't think so, because this is also what I'm thinking about. Tony Khan has stated to us that he is in negotiations with Warner Brothers right now, right?
Yeah.
With TNT, TBS, all those people. He's in negotiations right now with those people because they have right of first refusal or whatever it is in the contract. He has to negotiate with Warner Brothers first. And then, this happened with WWE with Raw, that they had to negotiate with USA first. And then they were able, once the negotiations were over and they did a meter thing, or they didn't want to renew a contract with USA, they were able to play the market. Same thing's happening with Warner Brothers. Either they're going to stick with Warner Brothers or they're going to play the market and try to see how they fare. Exactly. I'm just thinking about Tony Khan is in those meetings and then gives massive money deals to Kazuchika Okada, Will Ospreay, and Mercedes Moné. Right? Obviously, Will Ospreay was a little way earlier.
Sure.
But I assume that money starts hitting, this past month or so.
Yes.
He must know how much more money he is getting, at the very least, from what Warner Brothers is offering.
He's gonna get a lot of money.
AEW is gonna get a crap ton of money.
As he said,
and to that point, all this is Monet, Okada, all these people online talking about he's overpaying these wrestlers. He is currently in meetings with television studios about how much more money they are willing to give him. He knows.
Yeah,
this is
he knows what's on the table.
This is investing into the product so that when that money comes in, he gets the benefits of it all.
As he said on record, they're gonna be a profitable company next year, right? Like once the new TV deal hits, they're in the money.
Oh, sorry. What are they in?
The money.
No, hold on.
You would have had it ready.
I didn't. I had the chat open.
In the money.
Money.
Show me the money. All right. What's next?
We kind of already talked about. So yes, you had a thing.
Is it the New Japan Cup?
I was going to move on to Stardom since we kind of talked about it.
Let's do that, and then we could do torture.
Yes. So Stardom, they had their show today. Obviously, didn't air live. So if you don't want the spoilers,
now up on Stardom World if you want to go watch it.
Oh, it is perfect. We'll wait till after the show. Wait till after watching Ring Post Radio live. If you were watching it right now,
mute us for the next 5 minutes.
Yes, mute us for the next 5 minutes, but keep it open so we still get that view. But the final four, the Stardom Cinderella tournament, are officially revealed. That final four is Hanan versus Ruaka and Azumi versus Ami Sourei. Scotty, thoughts on that final four?
Company will,
that's a young final four, by the way.
That's good, but I came on this production, and I praised Taro Okada once, and then he puts Ami Sourei in the final four to spite me. To spite me, she was in the final four last year. That's kind of half the joke. It's very clear. I hope to people by now that this is Hanan's story to lose. Every single match they've given her has been on purpose. You go through the Hanako match, then you get the big win versus Mirai. Then Starlight Kid, a match she wanted, someone that's becoming her rival. I want this match. They give that to her. She beats Starlight Kid. Spoiler alert. And now she's facing Ruaka, someone who is like her rival because they've grown through this business together. They face each other for the future of Stardom title. Like, this is her rival in many ways. They pushed Ruaka into this spot for Hanan, essentially. And then she's going to go to the finals and presumably face Ami Sourei, who's another rival of her because she lost to her. She lost the future of Stardom title to her. But if we were gonna just ruin a little of this story, love telling a story for a wrestler to overcome and win because I love Hanan, one of my favorites. But if we just wanted to change the story a little and just have Azumi be in the final, I wouldn't be upset. I would not be upset at all. I would actually prefer it because, one, I don't like Ami Sourei and I like Azumi. But it's cool. I'm happy. I'm just happy that they're going with Hanan. That's what matters to me. But they do have the full card for Wednesday's the finals, by the way.
Correct.
As well as the New Japan Cup finals. I have it right here if you'd like me to read through it.
Real quickly, let me give my thoughts on the final four.
Yes, please do.
Hanan, amazing push that they're giving her right now. I'm fully on board. Even if she loses, I assume she's going to the finals as well. Even if she loses to Azumi or Ami Sourei, she gets so much out of this run just by beating Mirai and Starlight Kid back to back.
Clean.
Over
the top rope.
Yeah, no. She's not going to gain much from beating Ruaka, but that'd be nice.
I would like to think she beats Ruaka, yes.
But we can all put that aside. Azumi, Ami Sourei, my pick would be Azumi winning. Just because I think that'd be more interesting, and because
so much more interesting,
she deservedly, I think, deserves to be in that sort of next slot. Yes. And this tournament allows that, and her beating Hanan will give her a little something as she goes up to the top. Ami Sourei, I could also see that could be interesting, like you sort of stated, the history between her and Hanan.
Yeah.
But that if it's Ami Sourei, I almost feel like maybe then Hanan should win. To get that overall thing. But I don't, and that's the point of like, I'm unsure if Hanan should win this whole thing. I'm unsure about a full-blown push like that. That's incredibly bold. I love it. I'm intrigued by it.
What New Japan doesn't do.
Yes, that an incredibly quick push. It would be that, and I'm a little suspect of it, but I would, I'm welcoming to it, I guess. But that's why I suspect it'd probably be Azumi.
They should do it. They should go all the way at this point. There's no, what has made Stardom what they are is doing things like this. And what has made New Japan what they are is not doing things like this. So
yes. Stardom knows how to be quick and
ahead of it. I mean, listen, Hanan's she was always going to be a star. And I think, if you can get her there quicker, I'm cool with that. But it should be fun. It should be a fun final night. Ami Sourei is actually the only one of the final four that has had a Wonder Stardom title match, which is disgusting to say out loud. But it's the truth that, Azumi's never had one. Obviously, Hanan's never had one. Of course, Ruaka's never had one. So here are your finals, the final night card for the show. You'll have Mina. We'll just go through the house. There's 3 pre-show tags. Not pre-show.
Oh boy.
No one cares. Mina Shirakawa, Zena, Waka Tsukiyama, and Hanako versus Shuri, Mirai, Saki Kashima, and Rana Yagami. Natsupoi, say already know. Yuna Mizumori, Sayaka Kurara, and Aya Sakura versus Natsuko Tora, Mo Watanabe. Starlight Kid, Rina, and Fukigen Death. Saya Kamatani, Lady C, Miyu Amasaki versus Suzuki, Koguma, and Saida versus, Mei Sara, Suzuki, and Mai Sakurai. A lot of the other title matches they've set up involve someone in one of the big matches. So that is why there's only one title match on this show. Cinderella tournament semifinal, as we said, Hanan versus Ruaka, as well as Azumi versus Ami Sourei. Utani versus Yuzuki.
Interesting.
Pretty cool. For the final time ever, probably, maybe. I don't know.
We don't know anything here.
No, no. Julia's totally not leaving. It'll be Tam Nakano versus Julia, specifically with a 15-minute time limit.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Interesting.
they don't put time limits on their website for anything except for this match. And I said, okay.
That seems to spell out the finish.
Looking forward to the draw. Thank you. I do kind of find it funny that she's not even putting over Tam. But whatever. Cinderella tournament final, and in the main event for the World of Stardom Championship, it will be Maika versus Utami Hayashishita. So it should be a good show on Wednesday.
Big time show. Big time show.
Big time show. Last couple matches are obviously good. Between Tam and Julia and Tommy and Maika and the finals, that's really cool. Big three for the show. That I think that is all you're really looking for on a show centered around the tournament. So, because last year was not good.
Knowing that what the final four looks like, Hanan, Ruaka, Azumi, Ami Sourei, do you think not including the bigger time stars like Utami, Maika, all these other people, do you think that was successful? A successful move to take him out of the tournament and push all these sort of younger, newer stars?
1,000%. I think taking out the overdone time limit draws and over the top ropes has really made this tournament exciting. Like those things worked when it was a one night tournament. And the crew is smaller, but once you got to so many roster members, it just didn't work anymore. And I think it's really benefited the wrestlers in this tournament more than anything else. Sure, like these other wrestlers haven't had like a lot to do, but it's about the future. That's what I've always looked at the Cinderella. It's about the future. It's not about the main eventers. Like the main eventers never win this for a reason.
Yeah.
So I think it's been a success. I think it's been a thumbs up, and I'm excited to see how it all ends. I'm hoping whatever combo they do put in the finals, they deliver. And this is building for the future. I don't think whoever wins this tournament's beating Sayori for the title. But that's okay. That's at least not as predictable as the New Japan Cup final winner.
We'll get to
what's happening there.
Even if Azumi wins, you don't think she's beating Sayori?
Azumi would be a little more different.
I think she's the most likely person beating Sayori out of this lineup.
Yes. Obviously they're going all the way with Hana. And if Hana wins, the tournament was enough that she can lose the title match, come up short, and then work towards it down the road. I think that works well. But Azumi would be like, well, maybe. But it should be a lot of fun in seeing where we're going moving forward in this tournament.
A couple questions in the chat. This is kind of a two-part comment thing. Why is Ami in the final four when Mariah might be leaving? This is from Venkin Bjorn. Follow-up question.
You answered your own question.
Shouldn't they book an artist match?
So you answered your own question in many ways. I agree with you. Based off of what Mariah said last week, it does have that feeling. But they're trying to now build up someone in the number 2 spot if she's leaving, right? For God's eye. And if Mariah is to walk out the door at the end of March or April, whatever, they need someone to step into that. Do I see Ami as someone that should be stepping into a number 2 role? No, but that is what
they need somebody.
So that's the way I look at it. I agree with you though. They should have just booked an Stardom title match on the show. I would have had May Sarah beat Ami Sourei because May Sarah has the same kind of rivalry story with Hanan that would have worked, but they made their decision, and that's the main reason I think they're pushing Ami into the final four right now.
It's just it feels like it's just a catalyst of we need to build up new stars immediately because we know a bunch are going to be leaving. Right. And also, like, the titles is a whole thing, like that. All of that plays a part of how we're gonna maneuver these chess pieces around the table.
I think Ami's the oldest wrestler in the Final Four at a whopping 26 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Azumi is the second oldest at 21.
Jesus.
Like this is Ruaka's 19 and Hana's 19. This is full force youth going, because they're trying to make
this is the future of Stardom bracket for Cinderella tournament.
But I do agree with you that they should have just booked an artist match. I suspect if there's anyone leaving that has titles, we're just throwing them on some house show, or they're being vacated at this point.
Yeah. But also that's a matter of we don't know when these contracts officially come up.
Right. We don't know for sure. My assumption is March 31st. That's it, because it's always been end of March or whatever. So
Connor Houston in the chat, wonder who Micah will face at Grand Queendom since she's facing Utami at Cinderella final.
Tam. It's Tam. It's always Tam. It's always Tam. Everything revolves around Tam. I have convinced myself Tam is winning this title back. So Micah fans, eat your heart out.
Jeff Bugenhagen, what if the winner beats Mayu?
Well, that'd be crazy. The winner of the Cinderella?
Yeah, they choose Mayu instead.
That would be
plausible.
Crazy. It's not impossible. That's definitely for sure. The only person that I would have saw challenge for the IWGP if they won was Kid. But they already set up the rematch, so I don't think anyone's challenging for that.
I think that's all the questions.
Oh, we get to talk about House of Torture now? Is that what you're telling me?
I think we should. I think we should get into it. But yeah, that's Stardom Cinderella tournament. The finals of it, as you already stated, this Wednesday with 2 title matches on the show as well, along with the
New Japan Cup final this Wednesday too.
New Japan Cup final is also this Wednesday with the semifinals tomorrow. So we'll transition right nicely into Right Nicely is my alternate name. Right nicely into New Japan Cup update. Final 4 was revealed also this morning, which, spoilers if you don't want to be spoiled on the Final 4 of the New Japan Cup.
I couldn't care less.
These results are your Final 4 are officially Sonata versus Goto.
As everyone predicted. Goto.
Obviously, Goto is in this spot, not from beating David Finlay, but David Finlay getting, I believe, sick. I don't think it was an injury. I believe it was a sickness.
Big time curveball, huh?
So David Finlay is out. Goto is in. Semifinals there. Sonata versus Goto. On the other side, revealed this morning, Evil versus Yota Tsuji.
Hold.
Evil versus Yota Tsuji.
I think I don't know how to feel. I don't know where this tournament. Oh, I do on the left side. It was going to be Sonata and David Finlay.
Yeah, I get that impression fully as well.
I'm assuming it would have also still been Evil and Yota Tsuji.
Yeah, I don't think that's changed at all.
And it would have probably been.
Which so far, by the way, I predicted that side completely correct, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you did. I think it would have been David Finlay and Yota Tsuji. But now I'm genuinely terrified it's going to be Sonata and Evil.
We're just going to pull up Vic and Bjorn here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just, Evil's winning the entire thing. I said as such. He beat Shingo this morning.
I understood where you were coming from, and I picked David Finlay because, to me, either way, pain is pain. I got cheated, so now I'm just hoping you're right.
Yeah.
I'm not hoping you're right, to be fair. I don't want Evil to win this. I would love if Big Stooge won.
Sure.
But I'm not going to get my hopes up there.
No, I think there is an optimistic element of Tsuji. I will say. Now, here's the thing. I watched the matches this morning, so I can say this. Tsuji beat Ren Narita post House of Torture involvement. House of Torture got involved in the match, like they have in every single match, basically this entire tournament. And then Lij, Bushi, and Hiromu come out to help Tsuji. They ward off Jack Perry and Kanemaru, and Tsuji is able to get a roll-up victory pin over Ren Narita. Shingo was unable to do that. In fact, when Bushi tried to help Shingo from being attacked by somebody, he accidentally sprayed Shingo's face, which ultimately kind of led to Shingo losing the match. So they're doing the same at the same time, separating Tsuji and Shingo. Tsuji is someone that is able to overcome the House of Torture stuff. Shingo is not able to overcome, but part of the reason he's not able to overcome is that they're also furthering this idea of a potential Lij split, partly because of Shingo.
The house always wins, brother.
And Tsuji. So yes, it becomes this idea of we've now proven that Tsuji can beat House of Torture nonsense, but will he be able to beat Evil, the leader of House of Torture, and his nonsense?
Nah. The moment I saw the David Finlay sick thing, I was like, oh, Evil's winning then. Because and Evil could have always been winning, by the way.
Yeah. Like I predicted.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I always agree with you that it was either Evil or David Finlay.
Yeah.
Which, oh boy, yay. Evil, buddy. Evil. The worst option out of this Final Four is Sonata winning.
Oh yeah,
I ain't trying to see that again.
I talked about this in the preview. Is that is full? There's an argument where I could see that happening because they've been repeating a lot of matches recently. I think that's incredibly boring, and I don't want to see that.
No, I see it.
Goto, now that Goto's in, would be a shock win, and I would love to see him ultimately lose.
Goto versus Evil, New Japan Cup final.
Yeah,
the
maybe
ultimate underdog story.
Yeah,
that'd
be fun.
That match could actually rule if they did things right.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Tama Tonga Evil-esque.
Mm-hmm.
The one time that was ever good. Yeah, I mean it's got to be Evil. I don't see anyone else winning. The whole tournament has been built around House of Torture.
Yeah,
the leader of House of Torture winning makes all the sense in the world.
And like we said before, and this is
it's not like he's winning the belt.
No, to repeat what we said at the preview.
Hold on. Evil versus John Moxley. Sorry.
House of Torture in America. And that's partly also why I said House of Torture versus like a BCC Lij.
By the way, Evil's already booked for Taiwan 2 days later. He is not going to America.
Perfect. You tell me he can't take the flight immediately? Can't take that flight immediately?
Sounds like hell.
Sounds like evil. Sounds like a plane of torture, if you will. So kind of what we talked about in the preview, why I thought it was evil was just this idea of, number one, you got House of Torture all over the place. The moment they started involving themselves on the matches, it became super obvious.
Yeah.
Especially Jack Perry also turning into House of Torture also became this thing of all of that. But I talked about it as like him winning, he will have been able to beat Lij member Shingo, Lij member Yota Tsuji, and then a former Lij member, team partner, former champion, someone as I deemed a gatekeeper in this tournament, in Sonata. Evil beating all three of those guys back to back is a really nice path to victory that makes sense, like storyline sense. Ultimately, no one wants that to happen, obviously, but it makes storyline sense. You can't deny that. I also stated in a wild conjecture of people saying, the detractors saying that, but he's never champion. They're not going to have him, the never champion, win the whole thing. And my response to that is there's a famous photo of Evil holding 2 titles. You're telling me he can't beat down Naito in some main event somewhere and then hold a never title and the IWGP World Heavyweight title at the same time and replicate the photo to preview their world title match? You'll be out of your mind. And the
I
third
get
thing,
it. It is your dream.
yeah, that's my dream. I want that on every magazine cover like it was back in 2020. The other thing that I think is very apparent that we talked about is whoever wins this cup is losing to Naito. So it ultimately, like, who's perfect. Now can we you put in the picture on the video of him holding it back in 2020. Can we now update that photo? Can you do some Photoshop magic here, Scotty? Can you add the Never title and the IWGP World there, and then that's the dream. So what I was going to say is ultimately the winner of this cup was not going to win and beat Naito. Who is the better person to do that? Evil, someone that can gather localized heat, quote unquote. He's definitely gathering heat locally in Japan, but we can't deny that. He's getting booed out the wazoo. But he and they have history of Naito. Him going up against Naito has already been set up since Wrestle Kingdom. And ultimately he's going to lose, and then Naito and Moxley happens at Windy City Riot. All the signs were there. You just had to believe me. You just had to believe the guy with the right opinions. Now watch Goto win the whole thing.
Yeah.
Whole thing. But I thought it from the beginning. I thought there was a simple path, and the guy being ultimately a loser against Naito, it makes sense that that's evil. You know, it makes sense that's evil. Why do that? Why do that to Yota Tsuji? Yota Tsuji wins the whole thing and then loses to Naito. We'll still have people on Twitter being upset. Why? You know, then what's the point? Obviously, the story they're telling right now of Yota Tsuji is he is part of a upcoming LIJ faction breakup, shakeup, either with him leaving or Shingo leaving. And someone that I mentioned before, back with the Okada news, Shingo would be a great guy that could leave LIJ. Maybe he becomes the leader of Chaos. You know, that would be a great move for Shingo. And it looks
I just want to say, I never counted your opinion out. I thought it was very reasonable. And
you understand me. You understand my insanity.
Of course. Well, it's not insanity. It makes all the sense in the world. It's evil. Evil and Naito. That's their biggest match. So the only reason I had some doubt on it, I was wondering if they would have preferred it for Dominion, just because it's like.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair thought as well.
But I think it's probably better fit for the spot it's gonna be in. You know, assuming he wins. Hold on. You ready for this? You ready for this right here?
You have a picture prepped?
Oh, buddy, do I?
I can't wait for this to be like the shadiest picture.
Oh, you damn right it is.
Oh, that's the thumbnail. That's the thumbnail right
there. We have fun here. That's the world. That's the world's champion.
This is your future, folks. This is the future. Prep for this image. This image is happening. To the preview. To what is it? Sakura Genesis. This is happening, folks.
No. Yes.
Right, what is next?
I think it is. I think it is. Yeah, you're right. No, you're right.
Get into it. Get into it.
That's Ryan's dream.
This is I said this at the beginning of March that this photo will be ingrained in your eyes. All viewers of this right now peer into your future.
Is that not the best edit job you've ever seen in your life?
I mean, the IWGP World one's not bad. I will say that. The Never one has something.
The Never one? Okay, believe it or not, there wasn't many great photos of the Never Openweight title.
That's not a shock. Also, it's not a true Never belt because this one isn't spray painted black.
That's true. That's true. But you're welcome, everybody. Happy I can deliver.
That's great.
We're keeping that there forever, by the way. That's popping up the moment he wins next week.
And by wins, he means Sakura Genesis. They can be orange.
Genesis, New Japan Cup.
This is a 400 IQ play to give Evil 2 belts and make Moxley Naito a non-title match. The dream, and then of course, later winning the trios titles in Taiwan. So he gets 3 belts. Let's just go all in on Evil, folks.
3-belt Evil.
Yeah, that's the dream. That's the dream.
That's New Japan 2024, baby.
Yeah, I don't expect Go to win this whole thing. I've always said
you don't?
Suji, I think Suji's run has been real good. His match against Cobb was really well done. His match, the Ren Arena match, albeit for what it was pretty good. And what other match did he have? I'm forgetting. El Phantasmo, I think, was pretty good. The Jeff Cobb one, I think, being the best. If Suji can overcome Evil, I would not be shocked. I would be pleasantly surprised. And then we get a repeat of Sonata versus Suji, which could be nice. And if Suji also wins and we get a repeat of Sonata Suji, then you get Suji versus Naito, which also bleeds into the LIJ faction stuff. However, just like House of Torture this entire tournament, people would be, I think, more interested in a Suji Sonata match. People would be interested in a Suji winning the whole thing and a Suji Evil match. But just like House of Torture this entire thing, they're going to tease you with matches that you want and then give you House of Torture members in those matches instead.
House always wins, baby.
The House always wins.
I want to see, whatever. I'm okay with it. Because here's the thing, everybody. The Evil match was happening. One way or another, it was going to happen.
Like I said, tease since Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, and Evil versus Sonata in the New Japan Cup final after what happened at Wrestle Kingdom makes too much sense.
Makes too much sense. So it's happening. Can we pull out that picture again?
It's absolutely happening. You want the picture back?
Yeah. And then real quickly.
Evil! And that is Ring Post Radio. Hot Boy Summer. They bring the torture. Show uses a wrench. And then there's Dick Togo. Doo, doo, doo. And Yujiro. Doo, doo, doo. Cause it's Hot Boy Summer.
Hot Boy Summer.
Hot Boy Summer.
A Hot Boy Summer. Get into it. Get into it, folks.
Oh, boy.
Into it. Yeah, that's the show, folks. Oh, God. If there was never a more House of Torture episode of Ring Post Radio, I think it's today's episode.
I don't think anyone's ever coming back.
Well, I hope you do. If you're a listener, subscribe to Ring Post Radio, whether it be on YouTube for the video versions or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe, and you can listen to the show forever and ever and ever and ever.
I know what we have to do next week.
What's that?
So next week we'll review the finals of both Bushiroad tournaments.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Bushiroad Cups. Yeah, there you go. The Bushiroad Cups.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds terrible. Don't like that. We'll be previewing All Japan's Otis Ward show featuring Katsuhiko Nakajima versus Yuma Anzai.
Correct. Triple Crown title match right there.
As well as Noah's show that has Jake Lee in a title match.
Well, if he is able to show up, he apparently has a concussion. So we'll see.
Did he just get that?
Yes. Today? He got it the past couple days.
Well, he was on the show today.
Oh, was he? Did he wrestle today?
Yeah, I think so.
Then he could be fine. That's good. There was reports that he had a concussion, so if he wrestled today, then he should be good. Real quickly, Jeff Dugenhagen in the chat. 2 cups, 1 Bushiroad. Continue with what you're saying, Scotty.
No! No! Oh my god.
2 titles, 1 Bushiroad. What else are we previewing? I think we have a fun show we're going to preview.
I'm sure you're right, but I had what is it?
CMLL.
Yeah! Oh my god, I forgot that was coming.
Yes.
Oh man.
CMLL show that is pronounced
here we go. Here we go. I can't wait for this.
Homenaje a dos leyendas. I felt good about that.
I don't, but good on you.
Yeah, we'll preview that as a big time CMLL show with the BCC involvement in the main event.
And then you know what the week after that is, Ryan?
What's that?
Our WrestleMania week preview.
Yeah, get into it. Shayna Baszler and Bloodsport, baby. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, we're gonna have to decide how we're gonna preview shows that week because this WrestleMania week does not have the spice that I think it's got shows, but I'll tell you what, none of it's at the Collective.
Can I be honest? I don't know
anything that's happening at the Collective.
Single match at the Collective or any WrestleMania weekend show that's happening. I've certainly seen them show up. I've certainly seen them show up.
Sure.
I just fully can't think of a single one that was announced that I'm sure there was one that was announced that I'm excited for and stuff.
Team CML versus Team Dragon Gate.
Oh yes, that was announced for March Hitchcock. Yeah, I remember that one. I'm excited about that one.
Let's see what else we got on this show. I'm gonna look at this show. You know what? We have a few minutes to spare, and we're gonna see what the hell WrestleMania week is. Joey Janela versus Nick.
Well, you're telling me you're not excited for that one?
Rob Van Dam versus Mike Bailey. What?
Interesting.
Masato Tanaka versus Josh Alexander. How the fuck?
Oh yeah, there was this one. This one actually. This is a genuinely interesting match. Mustafa Ali versus Amazing Red. That's actually really good. Oh, that's really good. Gringo Loco versus Volador Jr. GCW, April 5th.
That is definitely a match.
Definitely a match.
Wait a minute, Volador, that's not happening anymore.
Is it not? Oh, it's not happening more, right? Because of Volador?
Yeah, Volador's one of the people, right?
Yeah.
Shuri versus Masha Slamovich?
Yes, that's interesting. Is Spark happening that weekend? Jeff brought up Spark. Is Spark happening that weekend?
It is. I don't know if it's airing, but it is happening. It might be airing. I don't know. Let me look at the old Fight TV, shall I?
Yes, there's some sort of Fight.
Sorry, Triller TV.
Yes, I typed in WM weekend, and would you be surprised that it got me nowhere?
Your show of the year is next week.
The show of the year is next week. WrestleMania.
Your show of the year. War
NXT
Chamber.
Stand Deliver.
War Chamber. I know you're very pumped for that.
War Chamber.
Stardom American
MLW War Chamber.
Yeah. Stardom show is obviously during that week. GCW versus TJPW. Excuse me.
What about Defy Wrestling, April 4th? Kenta versus Gringo Loco.
Gringo Loco. Yeah, sure.
Gringo Loco. All over these shows.
Joey Janela's. What's Joey Janela's spring break got?
I'm looking through it now.
Joey
also there's Stardom American Dream also happening that week.
I just said that.
Oh, I wasn't paying attention. I was reading. There's Bloodsport X, obviously, like we said, with what's her face on it, Shayna Baszler. Nick Nemeth versus Mike Bailey in Bloodsport. Get into it. We're going to talk about all this more next week. We're going to talk about what matches are actually very good on these nights that you should watch.
Can't wait. And of course, WrestleMania.
Whoa.
You're welcome.
Whoa, hey now. DDT is going to have some stuff. Oh,
this isn't even next week. This is 2 weeks away.
I know. This is 2 weeks away. A show that I'm actually interested in is Action Wrestling is putting on that Dean show.
What?
It's for the DVR DT? I'm forgetting the DVR VR, whatever it is. I forget what his name. The Dean guy, I forget his last name, passed away. So they're doing like a show in honor of the guy, and it's just like a bunch of like insane matches. Dana Makabe versus Timothy Thatcher's on that show. I don't know if you've seen their series of matches from 1, 2, 3 Battle. They've had 3 great matches, like legitimately really great matches, indie matches. They're doing and I believe it's also Daniel Makabe's last match in his career. Against
No, that's not true.
I believe it's true. I believe you're retiring, quote unquote.
He's fighting Zack Sabre Jr. after that.
Oh, interesting. Never mind then. That he's retiring though. I know that for a fact.
See, I'll believe you on that. But no, he is fighting. When's Roseland? April 14th. That could be his last match.
Well, okay. That probably will be. Shuri versus Masha Slamovich. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about all this stuff next week. We'll go through this entire
2 weeks.
More announcement stuff. In 2 weeks. You're right. In 2 weeks. Next week, we'll get CMLL, All Japan, New Japan, Stardom, whatever else happens in the world of professional.
Right, bye, everyone.
Well, no, I just saw Jeff wrote SRS as a match on Mania weekend. Why are we booking Sean Ross Sapp for matches?
Wasn't he in like a battle royal 2 years ago?
Yeah, and then he had, I think last year, like a match with him and
Shaza.
Yes, Shaza McKenzie.
All right, let's roll up the show.
Match of the week. Let's talk about our matches of the week. What from this past week that you have watched, whether it be from the week proper or anything from the history of wrestling, did you watch in the past week that we did not discuss, Scotty, and that you enjoyed?
I did watch Randy Savage and Ricky Steamboat this week. However, I'm just gonna pick Shibata and Danielson.
Yes, I have yet to see that match from Collision, but I've only heard great things.
Yeah, they beat the piss out of each other. It was great. It was lovely. It was the closest I've seen Shibata to previous Shibata. So
really,
not to excite you, but
did Bryan Danielson kick Shibata's brain out of his skull and then put it back in?
That's exactly what he did.
Can't wait. My match of the week, of course, is from TNA Impact. It's AJ Francis versus Joe Hendry. Goodbye. I'm kidding.
That would have been the perfect way to end this episode.
That's a House of Torture spot right there. I did watch.
Hey, whoa! No, do not be that mean to House of Torture. No.
Oh man, I can't believe how much pro House of Torture we've come across with today's show.
I mean, listen.
Whatever. Listen.
Sorry.
Think my match of the week will be, I don't give this company much love, and maybe this isn't the time to give this company much
let me
love.
guess the company.
Sure.
WWE.
Yeah. I don't care for the company, and obviously I said at the top, there are a lot of things upsetting with right now, but I do think the match between Becky Lynch and Liv Morgan this past Monday Night Raw was really good. It was probably one of Liv Morgan's best matches. It's a similar thing of Becky Lynch, where I said the same thing about Nia Jax at the beginning of this year, where Becky Lynch is a great wrestler. She brought out probably the best matches out of Liv Morgan and Nia Jax this year. And I think she's doing some of her best wrestling work, I think, right now. I think she's really hitting it. She's having great matches, really good matches with people that aren't the best wrestlers in the world.
That's good considering she's wrestling Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. Should work out very well. That wasn't a shot at Rhea, by the way. That was more of, okay, well, she's doing great and Rhea's doing really well. That should be able to make something great.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think, like I said, I think work-wise, Becky Lynch is doing really great stuff right now, and I think you're right. I think Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch should actually be an exciting match, genuinely exciting match at WrestleMania. That has been well booked and makes sense, unlike probably the main event. So we'll get to that, I guess, when we get to it. That is it for this week's episode of Ring Post Radio. I don't know why I pronounced it like that. Scotty, do you have anything to plug for the people at home?
No.
Perfect. No. I don't really have anything to plug either. I'm scheduling right now the next episode of The Ballot. which I think will be a really great guest as soon as we figure out the scheduling of that.
It's not me, everybody. I know you instantly thought me when he said great guest, but no, it is not me.
It should be a genuinely great guest with, I think, genuinely great knowledge of the
again, not me.
No, definitely not Scotty.
I'm already locked in.
Yeah, you got your own person. You got your own person picked out already.
Yeah.
But yeah, that will come out, of course, before the end of March. Follow me on Twitter. You don't have to follow me on Twitter. I don't really use it anymore. At Ryan Knightsey, at Scott E Wrestling if you want actual content. And follow the whole network at Count Out Pod on X. Excuse me, on whatever you follow for social media. You have great shows. Ichiban Sweetcast, the newly brand Okada shorts. I believe we'll have a new episode out this week, following the finals of the New Japan Cup. Your Dose of Death continues to put out content every single week, and Stardom Road had an episode last week, if I'm not mistaken. Am I remembering correctly? Last week, right?
You sound right. So yes,
that was, and I believe that was the last episode of the DDM series, if I'm not mistaken. No, it was the Q&A.
It was Q&A because we were lazy.
Well, that's fine. Your co-host just came back from Japan, so
my co-host not only did he come back from Japan, he was sick as a dog, but he did it for the people.
Yeah, and that's what you want. You do it for the people.
You do it for the people. That's why we pitched Evil as your next double champion. And with that, goodbye, everybody.